The first time a mom called me a dropout babysitter who probably couldn't even do my own laundry. I didn't fight back. I just smiled. 3 weeks later, I was holding her daughter while she turned blue, and that same mom was screaming for me to stay away from her baby. My name's Kayla Brooks, and I'm 20 years old. People notice me before I even speak, tattoos running down my arms, streaks of teal in my black hair, ripped jeans I bought secondhand. Kids love me because I don't look like their parents. But to the moms in Maplewood, New Jersey, I was a neon sign flashing irresponsible. Just a babysitter. Just a dropout. Just another kid they'd never let near their precious children. I'd been babysitting for the Andersons for almost 2 years. Their son, Ethan, was 5, sweet and curious, always wanting to build towers taller than himself. Mrs. Anderson trusted me enough to ask if I could bring Ethan to a playdate at her friend's house while she worked a late shift. I thought it'd be simple, Legos, snacks, polite conversation with other adults. Instead, it felt like walking into a courtroom where the verdict had already been decided. The host mom, Caroline, took one look at me when I walked in with Ethan. Her eyes went cold, like she'd spotted a stain on her perfect cream carpet. "So, you're the babysitter," she said slowly, with a smile that wasn't really a smile. She pulled Ethan closer, away from me, then turned to the other moms. "We'll just need to keep an extra close eye today. You never know about supervision." The other women laughed, high, sharp, brittle. While I helped Ethan untie his shoes, one of them leaned down and asked, "Are you still in high school?" When I said no, she smirked. "So you dropped out. That explains it." She turned back to the group and, loud enough for me to hear, started ranting about teenage dropouts babysitting because they weren't smart enough for college. I didn't bother to tell her that I'd been a certified paramedic for 3 years. That I'd already dragged screaming kids out of burning buildings in Trenton. That I'd knelt in backyards with my hands inside people's chests, keeping them alive until backup arrived. To them, I wasn't Kayla the paramedic. I was just Kayla the dropout babysitter. Caroline made sure of that. She stuck me in the corner of her living room like furniture. When I tried to answer her questions about nutrition, CPR, credentials, she cut me off, smirking while using air quotes. "You see," she announced to her friends, "this is why I always insist on meeting caregivers first. You just never know." One woman bragged about her nanny's Ivy League degree. Another said she'd never hire someone under 25. Caroline stared at my tattoos and asked if I even knew what organic food was. Then she added, "Kids like Ethan probably eat McDonald's every night and call it dinner." The laughter stung worse than any punch. I wanted to shout that I'd carried blood-soaked kids to ambulances while their parents froze. But instead, I sat quietly, building block towers with Ethan. Then came the test. A girl named Lily, maybe 6 years old, started coughing on a grape. Her mother barely looked up. "She's always dramatic," she said, waving it off. But the coughing got harder, sharper. Lily's face turned red, then purple. Her little hands clutched her throat. The moms kept chatting about weekend plans. Another bragged that she always cut her kids' grapes because some parents don't understand basic safety. Meanwhile, Lily dropped to her knees, lips turning blue. I shot up, the chair scraping behind me. My body moved before my brain could. I'd seen this before, too many times. Complete airway obstruction. 2 minutes before brain damage. Maybe less. I ran to her, positioned myself behind her small frame, and wrapped my arms around her. That's when Caroline grabbed me. Her nails dug into my arm. "Stop! You'll hurt her!" Lily's mom shrieked, "Get this dropout off my daughter!" I had seconds. Seconds. If I waited for their permission, that child would be dead before an ambulance even left the station. I shoved their hands off me, placed my fist just above Lily's belly button, and thrust. Nothing. Another thrust. Still nothing. The moms were screaming, some crying, one yelling to call 911. Caroline tried to pull me away. Then, on the third thrust, a grape shot across the room, bouncing off the coffee table and rolling under the couch. Lily collapsed against me, coughing, gasping, breathing again. Her lips flushed pink. Her chest rose and fell. She was alive. But the room? Silent. The same women who mocked me were frozen, staring. None of them could even look me in the eye. I thought that was the bottom. That being screamed at and physically stopped while saving a child's life had to be as bad as it got. I was wrong. Because Caroline hadn't put down her phone the whole time. And the real nightmare didn't start until I saw her typing. And that wasn't even close to the worst of it. I thought the hardest part was over. Lily was alive, clinging to me while air filled her lungs again. I thought maybe, just maybe, her mother would thank me. But gratitude never came. When the EMTs rushed through the door, I rattled off Lily's symptoms, her airway obstruction, how many abdominal thrusts I'd performed. The lead medic nodded, impressed, and asked for my certification number. Before I could answer, Caroline cut in sharply. She's just the babysitter. Don't take her seriously. The EMT ignored her and turned back to me. When I gave him my number, his face changed instantly. Brooks? You were at the Riverside apartment fire, weren't you? Caroline's mouth snapped shut. But not for long. Because even as they loaded Lily into the ambulance, her mother gripping my hand and begging me to ride with them, Caroline stepped forward, blocking the door. You've done enough damage, she hissed. You shouldn't be anywhere near this child again. Her words clung to the air like smoke. By the time we reached Maplewood General Hospital, Caroline was on her phone again, thumbs flying. I didn't think much of it, I was too focused on keeping Ethan calm, explaining to him that Lily was okay. He clutched my shirt, whispering, "You're a hero," in that tiny 5-year-old voice. For a moment, I let myself believe that mattered. But then, the storm hit. Hours later, back at my apartment, my phone buzzed non-stop with notifications. I opened Facebook and my stomach dropped. Caroline had posted in the Maplewood Moms Network, a group with nearly 12,000 members. Her words were venom dressed as concern. Warning to all parents, today, my daughter was assaulted by an unqualified teenage babysitter who performed dangerous maneuvers without consent. My child was traumatized. Please, be careful who you trust with your kids. My full name was tagged. A photo of me from the playdate, tattoos, teal hair, ripped jeans, was plastered under the caption. In 10 minutes, the comments exploded. Hundreds of strangers, most of them mothers I'd never met, calling me reckless, violent, even dangerous. Some dug up my LinkedIn. Others screenshot my Instagram, circling my tattoos as evidence I wasn't fit for childcare. One woman actually wrote, "Imagine leaving your children with someone who probably can't even fold her own laundry." I felt my chest cave in. My reputation, the babysitting jobs that paid my rent, my paramedic certification, everything I'd built, was unraveling right there in a thread of angry comments. Mrs. Anderson called, her voice shaking. She swore she trusted me, that she knew it was lies, but other parents had already been messaging her, asking if I was that babysitter. I could hear the doubt in her tone. And then, like fate wasn't finished with me, and my phone buzzed again. An email from the New Jersey Paramedic Certification Board. A complaint had been filed against me. They were opening an investigation. My hands went numb. One false complaint, one board member willing to believe the wrong version, and everything I'd worked for would be gone. That night, I didn't sleep. My phone lit up with messages from families I babysat for, some cancelling jobs for now, others going completely silent. I scrolled through the comments until I wanted to throw up, my face and name spreading like wildfire across every mom group in the county. At 11 p.m, my phone rang again. It was Lily's mother, Angela. Her voice was choked with tears. "Kayla," she whispered, "Caroline is threatening to sue me if I defend you. She says her husband's firm will ruin me if I speak out." I pressed the phone tighter to my ear. Angela, you don't owe me anything. Yes, I do, she cut me off. You saved my daughter. And Caroline is lying. Her voice cracked. But I'm scared. I told her I understood, but inside, I felt the walls closing in. This wasn't just gossip anymore. Caroline was turning her social power into a weapon. The next morning, I met Angela at a small coffee shop downtown. She slid into the booth across from me, her hands trembling as she pushed a flash drive across the table. My breath caught. What's this? Her eyes darted around the room. A nanny cam. I always keep one in my bag for playdates. It caught everything. You saving Lily. Caroline screaming at you. Her grabbing your arms. It's all there. I stared at the flash drive like it was a grenade. Because if what she said was true, this wasn't just gossip anymore. This was evidence. And Caroline had no idea I had it. But that wasn't the worst of it, not even close. I drove home from the coffee shop with Angela's flash drive burning a hole in my pocket. It felt like the only lifeline I had left. If what she said was true, if the footage really showed Caroline screaming at me while I saved Lily, then maybe I had a chance. But as soon as I parked in front of my building, I froze. My phone was lighting up again. 3 more families had cancelled jobs. Messages flooded in, sorry, Kayla, we just don't want to take the risk, or we heard what happened at the playdate, and it's best if we pause childcare for now. Pause. That word stung. It wasn't a pause. It was the end. And it sent me spiraling back to another memory. I was 17 when I got my paramedic certification. My first emergency call was a 6-year-old boy pulled out of a backyard pool. When I arrived, his mother was screaming that I was too young to touch her son. She tried to push me back until my supervisor shoved past her and ordered me to start compressions. My hand shook so badly I almost missed the rhythm. But then the boy coughed, water spraying everywhere, and his chest rose. I'd saved him. But his mother? She never even looked at me again. Not once. That same shame, that same rejection, came crashing back now. Different kid, different mom, same story, I saved their children, but they still don't see me as enough. By the next morning, things had gotten worse. Caroline's post had spread beyond Maplewood. Neighboring towns. Parenting forums. Even Twitter. My name and photo, my face, were everywhere. When I walked into the station for my EMT shift, my supervisor, Jim, was waiting in his office. He closed the door and held up a stack of papers. His expression was grim. Kayla, we got a formal complaint to the state board, he said. They're accusing you of unstable behavior around kids, even substance abuse. I blinked at him. Substance abuse? I don't even drink. I know, he said quietly. But protocol means we have to investigate. It could delay your certification renewal. The words made me sick. My career, everything I'd worked for, was dangling by a thread Caroline had spun. That evening, Angela called again. Her voice was ragged, almost frantic. Kayla, I need to tell you something. Caroline isn't stopping. She's threatening people. She told me if I defend you publicly, she'll drag me through court. And now she's calling CPS on me. The line went silent except for Angela's breathing. My stomach dropped. What do you mean CPS? I asked, gripping the phone. She reported me, Angela whispered. She told them I endangered Lily by letting an unqualified babysitter assault her. They're opening an investigation. They might take my daughter. I didn't even realize I'd stood up until my knees hit the edge of my desk. Angela, no. That's insane. You know I know, she sobbed. But she's saying it anyway. And with her husband's law firm behind her, she's making it sound real. I stared at the flash drive on my desk, the little silver piece of plastic that might be the only thing standing between us and destruction. Caroline wasn't just smearing me anymore. She wasn't just mocking tattoos or hair dye. She was weaponizing her power to destroy not just me, but anyone who dared to stand with me. And now, it wasn't just my career on the line. It was Lily's family. I thought it couldn't get worse than CPS knocking on Angela's door. But I was wrong. Because 2 days later, I woke up to my own face on the morning news with the headline, "Babysitter Controversy Divides Maplewood." And Caroline was on TV, standing outside her perfect house, telling the world how terrified she was of me. And that was when the real war started. Walking into the Essex County Courthouse felt like walking into a lion's den. I was just 20, still shaking from weeks of cancellations, online harassment, and strangers calling me a monster. Caroline, on the other hand, looked like she'd stepped straight out of a magazine cover shoot, pressed cream suit, pearls, and 3 lawyers in dark suits flanking her like bodyguards. She was filing for a restraining order. Against me. Her story? That I was stalking and harassing her through social media posts, that I was a violent babysitter who had traumatized an entire community. If the judge believed her, I'd be banned from half of Maplewood, including most of my babysitting clients. Inside the courtroom, the gallery was filled with her supporters. Perfect suburban moms in designer dresses, whispering about me like I was already convicted. Meanwhile, it was just me and my lawyer, Sarah, clutching the flash drive Angela had given us like it was the last card in a losing hand. Caroline took the stand first. And just like at the playdate, she put on a show. Tears on cue. Shaky voice. She said I'd attacked her daughter. That I'd forced myself on a child without consent. That I'd created a climate of fear in their neighborhood. She even claimed she hadn't been able to sleep since the violent incident. Some of the jurors shifted uncomfortably. The judge scribbled notes. For a terrifying moment, I thought she was winning. Then it was my turn. Sarah stood, calm as ever, and said, "Your Honor, we have one piece of evidence that will clear this up immediately." She plugged in the flash drive. And the courtroom went silent. On the big screen, the nanny cam footage played. Lily, choking. Her lips blue. Me rushing to help. Caroline grabbing my arms, screaming at me to stop. Her trying to pull me away while I fought to keep Lily alive. Then, the grape flying out, Lily gasping for air, and me holding her upright while Caroline's voice screeched in the background. No tears. No confusion. Just raw, undeniable truth. The judge's face hardened. Caroline's lawyers scrambled, shouting objections about illegally obtained footage. But it was too late. The jury had seen it. Everyone had. And when the video ended, the room stayed quiet. Not one of her friends in the gallery moved. The judge leaned forward. His voice was cold. Not only is this restraining order denied, but it appears Ms. Caroline Adams may have interfered with life-saving medical care. That is a serious matter. This court will be forwarding the footage to the district attorney's office for review. Caroline's face crumpled. Her tears stopped instantly. For the first time, she looked small. As she stormed out of the courtroom with her lawyers scrambling after her, the same women who had mocked me at the playdate stared straight ahead, refusing to meet my eyes. I should have felt relief. Victory. Something. But I didn't. I walked out of that courtroom feeling hollow, like my soul had been wrung out. Because even with the footage proving everything, I knew Caroline wasn't finished. She was too proud, too connected, too desperate to win. And I was right. The very next morning, my phone buzzed with a headline from the local news. Maplewood mom faces possible charges after babysitter vindicated in court. And underneath it, a picture of me. Tattoos, teal hair, tired eyes. The comment section was already divided, half calling me a hero, half insisting the footage had been edited. I thought things couldn't get crazier. But that night, as I sat on my couch surrounded by legal papers, there was a knock on my door. When I opened it, Angela stood there holding Lily's hand. Lily smiled shyly, then held up a crayon drawing of me in a cape with the words, "Thank you for saving me." And for the first time in weeks, I felt something crack open inside me. Hope. But I should have known better. Because Caroline still had one move left. And it was the cruelest one yet. The knock on my door that night had given me a spark of hope, Lily's drawing, Angela's shaky smile, the reminder that at least someone believed in me. But it didn't last. Because 2 days later, Caroline escalated in a way I couldn't even imagine. She filed a lawsuit. $500,000 in damages, claiming that my TV interview had destroyed her reputation and left her with severe emotional distress. Her lawyers paraded around psychiatric reports that said she couldn't sleep, that she had panic attacks whenever she saw children eating, that she was suffering from PTSD because of me. I wanted to scream. The only person who had nearly killed a child was her. The only person who had been traumatized every day since was me. But Caroline didn't care about truth. She cared about control. And she was willing to burn the whole world down to keep it. The trial date came 3 months later. Walking into that courtroom again, I felt the same hollow dread as before. Except this time, there wasn't just a restraining order on the table. This time, the district attorney was pressing criminal charges, interference with emergency medical care, conspiracy, harassment, filing false reports. Caroline sat across the aisle, her hair styled perfectly, her pearl earrings gleaming under the lights. But her eyes, they were wild. Desperate. The prosecutor played the nannycam footage again for the jury, then introduced something new, screenshots from Caroline's private mom group. Messages where she'd coordinated lies against me, even provided templates for false complaints. The jurors leaned forward as each screenshot popped up on the monitor. Caroline's words in black and white. "I don't care if it's true. Just make her life hell until she disappears." Her lawyers tried to spin it as maternal panic. They said she had only acted out of fear, that any mother might lash out in the aftermath of trauma. But then Angela took the stand. Her voice shook, but her words cut through the room like glass. "Kayla didn't traumatize my daughter. She saved her life. And Caroline tried to stop her? I will never forgive that." The silence that followed was heavy, almost suffocating. By the time it was my turn to testify, I wasn't even scared anymore. I told them everything, the comments about being a dropout, the laughter about not knowing how to do laundry, the moment Lily's lips turned blue while they all froze. And I told them what it felt like to keep working as an EMT while strangers online called me a criminal. At one point, Caroline's lawyer sneered, "So you expect us to believe a 20-year-old dropout with tattoos is more qualified than a mother to save a child?" And I answered simply, "Yes. Because I'm trained." And she wasn't. The jury deliberated for only 3 hours. When the foreman stood and read the verdict, guilty on all counts, Caroline let out a sound I'll never forget. Not a sob, not a scream. Just a broken gasp, like all the air had been sucked out of her. Her bail was revoked on the spot. 2 officers led her away in handcuffs while her friends in the gallery sat frozen, not moving, not speaking. As she passed me, Caroline turned her head. Her face was pale, hollow. And she mouthed 2 words. "I'm sorry." But it was too late. At sentencing, the judge gave her 2 years probation, 500 hours of community service at a children's hospital, mandatory therapy, and ordered her to pay nearly $40,000 in my lost wages and legal fees. It wasn't prison. But it was something. And for me, it was finally over. Months later, life slowly pieced itself back together. Families who had cancelled started calling again. New ones reached out, saying they'd heard my story and wanted someone they could trust in a crisis. My EMT supervisor promoted me to lead trainer for pediatric emergencies. And I started teaching first aid classes to parents at the community center. One Saturday, I looked out over a room of 30 adults practicing the Heimlich on child mannequins. And there in the front row was Lily, proudly demonstrating the choking sign she'd learned from me, wearing the junior EMT badge I'd given her. When class ended, she tugged on my sleeve and whispered, "Thank you for saving me so I can save other kids too." Her words hit me harder than any courtroom victory. Because in the end, Caroline's lies didn't win. Her power didn't win. The truth did. And sometimes, that's enough. Caroline had tried to ruin me for saving a child's life, but all she really did was prove why kids need people like me in the room when seconds count.